Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Michael and I like all things gardening. So if that's something that you are into, make sure you give this video a like and hit that subscribe button to follow along for all my future videos. So today I'm installing some irrigation into my veggie beds, and I thought I would bring you along because it's a pretty simple thing to do and you can do it yourself at home. So let's get going. So some essential items are, of course, your drip line. So I'm using the Pope Drip Ease drip line. So it has, you can see, emitters every 30 centimeters or 12 inches, depending on your measurement scale. And these will push out 2 liters of water per hour. Then you will need some joiners. So you've got elbows, you've got T-joints, and you've also got just straight ones. And the clamps. So the clamps are obviously to clamp the joiner to the drip line. Some secateurs to cut your drip line, and your multi-grips to clamp the clamps together. So I think it's about time we get started on this bed. So first thing is cutting your lengths of the drip line. So this is a big roll of 100 meters from Pope. But you can get smaller, you can get 50 meters, you can get 15 meters, depending on how much you need and how many beds you've got. So hopefully this will be enough to cover all my beds. But you just want to find the end, unroll it a little bit, and just visually measure it to the length of the bed. And then make a cut. So that should be good. And then you can use this as a measurement for the other lengths that you need, depending on how many you need. So for this bed, I think I'm going to do 4 rows of drip line and then the 2 at the end. So it's like a grid, basically. Just make sure when you're cutting that you don't cut through the emitters. Firstly, that'll be really hard to cut through, and you obviously won't be able to use that area because you can't push anything into it. So just make sure you cut between them. So I just need to cut a few more lengths. Just measure it against the previous one. Doesn't have to be exact because you're going to make some trimming. You're going to have to do a little bit of cutting anyway, so you're always going to have a little bit of excess, a bit of wastage, unfortunately, but there's not too much you can do about that. Make sure your sickies are sharp. So I've got my 4 lengths and my 2 lengths for the end. I also forgot to mention some pegs are good for pegging the drip line down whilst you're working out your placement. So a good way to start is to just roughly place out where you think you're going to put the drip line using the pegs that I mentioned before. That way you can just look and visually see if you need to make any adjustments before you start cutting and clamping bits together. So I reckon about 15 to 30 centimeters, well 15 is probably a bit close, roughly 30 centimeters apart. So I think that looks pretty good. Might just make some minor, slide them up or down a little bit. And the fun part is joining everything together. So this is where your little clamps and your joiners come into it. So we want to join the ends to the rows. Just working out the spacing visually, so I'm not cutting into any of the emitters. Just might have to cut a little bit off this end. So this corner we'll use an elbow, your little elbow joint. So you just push it in, which goes in pretty easily. Oh, don't forget to put a clamp there, just so you can clamp it on afterwards. And then you join this bit into this end. And there you've got your first join. So grab those multi-grips. And that's the first one done. Pretty simple. So now it's just a matter of working your way along. So for this one that's not on the end, you'll need a T-piece. So you can join the two ends with that row. So cut it. Don't forget your little clamps. Stick them on the brown line, the drip line first. Push the joiners in. And then tighten the clamps. Just be sure not to do it too tightly, because you are likely to snap the clamps with your strength. So basically what you want to do, see the little joiners have barbs on them. So you want to make sure once you've pushed the drip line over the length of the barb, as far as it'll go, then you'll put the clamp in between the barb like that, so it'll stop it from pulling off. You're probably wondering, Michael, how does the water get in to the pipes, the drip line. So what we need to do in the corner of each bed is add a T-joint. Oops, don't forget the clamps. So a T-joint into the corner of each bed, and then what you're going to do is get some extra pipe, usually some like black poly pipe, where you can feed it down and out of each bed, and then you'll join it up with one line, which is where the water is going to feed in from. Because you won't want to use the drippers as they're coming out of the bed. So just some black poly pipe is usually the go. And you can feed that to your water source. Just like that, the pegs come out, push it back in, hold it down. So there we have it, one bed down. So you can leave them sitting on top of the soil or just buried beneath. Or what I like to do is just grab some mulch and mulch over the top of it. And that's where I'm going to connect the water into it. Easy DIY irrigation. That'll do it for today. Bye for now, and we'll see you in the next one.